Hello, and thank you for tuning in today to Izzy the Tech Guy. We are on episode 14, and today we're going to really start getting deep into a beginner's level of writing queries and querying tables. Today, what we're going to be discussing is how to join the tables to produce an output. So, this is our outline for right now. We're going to talk about why we do joins, different type of joins, and then we're going to discuss briefly the difference between a union and a join, and then we're going to also talk about some of the pitfalls that we could face when we're doing joins, and then we're going to discuss like how to use them, how you can use them incorrectly or not, and we're going to hopefully get to the point today to do some checkpoints. So let's go ahead. Let's go to w3school.com, and we're going to go down to the section for SQL joins. Okay, and joining is where queries become very powerful. And mainly it depends on how your database is set up. But most likely you probably have a star schema, some sort of schema like that. And when I say joining, it's basically taking two different tables and you're merging them together to to display one output. And then later on as we go through, you'll see how that works. Okay, so again, W3 School, what does it say about the joins? A join clause is combining rows from two or more tables on a related column between them. And it is possible, you could have like four joins, five joins. And when I say five joins, four joins, what I'm saying is different tables. So you can have five different tables. We've been working, I think in this database for W3 School, we have five or nine different tables. So it is possible to join all those tables together. What you need to do to be able to do that is find either the primary key, foreign key, basically a specific value in each table that match or link. So let's look at the example here. So we have the orders table and we have the customers table. So if we look at the orders table, we have order ID, customer ID, and order date. Those are the columns that we have in this table. So if we look at the customers table, we have customer ID, customer name, contact name, and country. Now, if you look carefully here, the primary key for this table is customer ID. It is possible to have, well, I'm not going to go there. Let's just keep it simple for now. So the primary key in this table is customer ID. So each customer, each row basically has a specific number in this field, a specific value in this field that represents this row. And if you go back here, that relates back to, you see here, like this order ID relates to customer ID too, which is this customer right here. So what you do is, if you want to do inner join, you join this to this. And we're going to get into the syntax. And it explains it here. Notice that customer ID column in the order table refers to customer ID in the customer table. So you have to, again, know your data, understand how the table is built to be able to do this join. So if we did a join, we would most likely do an inner join on here, depending on what your output is. So here is the syntax to do inner join. So you do your select, so pull everything that you want to see, and you put your first table from orders. Since you're doing an inner join, I don't think this will impact which table goes here. So what I mean by that is you can have customers table here and orders table here, or you can have how they have it, orders here, customer here. So again, the syntax is select, list out all the columns you want to see, list out the table you want to pull it from. And again, remember, customer name is not an orders table. However, it's in this table. So then you state what you're doing here, inner join, customers, and what are you joining on? So basically what that means is, what are we matching with? So we're matching on customer ID to customer ID. And that's the syntax. So let me come down here quickly and just explain to you, and this illustrates how joins work. So we have inner join. So let's say this is table 1, table 2. So if we do an inner join, we want everything that is in this table and in this table, because it is possible to have something in this table that's not in this table. So when we say inner join, we want everything that's in both tables. So that's why you see this middle part here is shaded. Definitely take a screenshot of this because this will definitely, seeing this will help you understand the difference between these joins. And now we have left join. So left join is I want everything in this table that is in this table or that's not in this table. So basically everything in table 1 is going to come back. If it's in table 2, great, bring it back. If it's not, it's still going to come back. Now let's say for there's something in table 2 that's not in table 1, you will not see that. Again, left join is everything in this table here will display and things that are in both tables will display, but if it's only in table 2, it will not display. Now, a right join returns all records from the right table and the matched records from the left table. So this is kind of the same thing as this, but opposite side. I don't think I've ever used a right join because I just always keep it as a left join. So let's say, for instance, I want to do something from table 2. I'll just flip it. So what I mean by that, instead of it saying table 1 here, it'll say table 2. But you could do a right join as well here. Now full outer join. Again, this I rarely use this one. Returns all records when there is a match in either left or right table. So if you want it here or here, you bring it back. So if it's a match. So that's the 4 different joins. And then you have certain things that we might cover, but briefly it's a self join. It's basically where you're joining to a table, like where you're joining that table to itself. So again, take a screenshot of this. This is very important. This will help you visualize the difference between joins. In my experience, it's these two that I mainly run into. Well, inner join, left join, self join, those 3. And self join is not pictured here. That's something we're going to maybe tackle on its own. Okay, so another thing we wanted to discuss here. So we talked about right, left, outer join, and now let's talk about union. It is with union, let me jump down here to explain union quickly. So basically union is where for whatever reason you want 2 categories. You want a category from table A and category from table B. And table B might not have nothing to join to table A, so you use a union statement. We're going to touch briefly on this. It's not the same thing as a join, but I want you to understand that the difference. So it's basically, let's say I want, let me see if they have a good example here. So let's say they have customer ID here. So I want customer name from this table. And now let's say, for instance, I want contact name from this table, but I all want it under the same column. So you do a union. So you're not joining, you're just doing, basically you're doing 2 select statements on top of each other, and in between it is the word union. But the main important thing is the column names have to match up. And what I mean by that, you can't have like, oh, this comes back as a string and this comes back as a date. It'll throw error. To get around that, you might have to do some casting. But let's say for whatever reason you want, let's say your company and you want external customer names, and then let's say this is supplier's name and you're thinking this is internal customers. So you see, you just wanted to roll it up into one customer name. So you can do like a union on select from customers table and select from suppliers table and just name it as customers. And then you just roll it all up together. So that's the difference between union and join. Hopefully that's not too confusing, but we might cover that. And unions usually I'll say that's like an intermediate level where you start doing unions. Okay, so let's go ahead. We jump back to joins and we're going to try some joins ourselves. Okay. So first thing we have here, and to make this more readable, I'm going to play around with the format. Nothing's wrong with this format, just so you can visually see the difference. So what I'm doing here is spacing them out. Here. Okay, so we have our select statement, and then we have our join statement. Here, put more space here, more space here. Okay, so if we see here, we have select order ID, and what we did here, there's a dot in front of here. And remember, we talked about aliases. This is when it's important. So just so if someone comes to this query so they can understand, this is saying, hey, what table is it from? And then this is the column name. If you get to the level where you don't want to put the table name, you can either don't put anything in front of the orders ID or that specific column. Now, if it's ambiguous, meaning that that column is from both tables, it'll throw an error. So let's say, for instance, I just want to use the alias that I use in this table. So let's say this table has an alias of A. I could do that. So that's the option you can do. Okay. So again, alias or table name, column name. So again, here, customer name, we know this is pulling from the customers table. Order date, we know it's pulling from the orders table. So then what table do we want to do? From orders, and then you can do it like this. Just have the word join, which is another way to say inner join, but to be specifically clear and so no one won't have any confusion, you just put down inner join. So inner join on what? So I'm taking customer's ID from what table? Orders table equals customer's ID on what table? Customers table. And then when you run this, you get a result of order ID. That's from another table. And you get the customer's name and you get the order date. And you just can scroll through here. And you see all these returns that you get. Okay. So let's we're not going to throw any where clause in here. So let's talk about something here. Because one thing we said, okay, so we talked about how to do inner join, the differences. Let's talk about some of the pitfalls. And in the next week lesson, next lesson, we'll definitely get into more details about how to do some stuff with inner join. Right now, I just want to give a brief overview of what are joins, inner joins, difference between left joins, outer joins, right joins. So I want to talk about the pitfalls now. So let me open another window here. And I'm going to do select star from orders table. Select stars from orders. Run this query. Okay. So let's get creative here. Remember, we did some aggregate value, so let's do this. Remember, when we joined to customer ID, excuse me. And then let's do a count. And what are we going to do? And if you look at here what I'm doing, I'm basically as count. So what I'm doing here, I am writing a query to return all the customer's ID, and I also want to count if there's more than one customer ID in this table. And once I run this, this will make sense. So look at this. This customer ID, number 10, had how many orders? 4. And you know what? And what I'm trying to do here is show you some kind of issues you can run into. Order by 2. So I want to order this, let's do it descending. So I want to get the largest amount. Okay, so customer number 20 had 10 different orders. So now we see that. So let's change this query. Select star from orders where, customer ID equals 20. Let's see what we get back. So you see here, we get 20. This should be, it was 10. Was it 10? I believe it was 10. Okay, yes. We get 20 different order IDs for this one customer. So what's the issue with this? Let's go back here to our inner join. And again, I know I'm throwing a clause in here, but don't worry about the syntax too much. Just take your time to understand what I'm going to show you here. And let's do this. And just, type in what I'm doing, and we'll get to what I'm showing you. Equals equals 20. Okay, let's run this. Okay. So if you see here, these order IDs repeat. Now, the scary thing about this can possibly, if we come back here, create a Cartesian join. Okay? And what I mean by that, since we're joining to customer ID here, it could repeat several times. So you want, basically what I'm trying to illustrate here is you want to be careful when you join it, because you might just want one record, but you get multiple records back. So let's go back here. And what that's called is a Cartesian join. So usually what would happen here is instead of 10, it'll come back 20. Because what I'm saying here is, so this customer ID would join to one, and then this one would join to the same one. And you know what? Let's go to customers table to show this. So you see there's one customers table. So this was joined to this from the orders table, joined to it multiple times. So that's one thing you want to be very careful when you're joining, to not have several different displays. And what I mean by displays, if let's say for instance, again, if you wanted to show up just one time, like let me see here. Okay, this will show you guys exactly. So let's take this out, take this out. So let's say for instance, you just want to see how many customers, you want to get the name of the customers that had orders. Run this query. Look at this. You see how it just shows up Ernest handled several different times? And there's ways you can get rid of that. And the reason why this is happening is because this customer's flop over here, this customer ID number 20 is repeating several times. So let's take that option out. So let's take this back out, run it again. You see you have 196, and let's order this. Okay, so you see around the horn, see how many times it shows up. See how many times it shows up. So you'll come back and be like, oh, there's 196 customers that have orders. And that's not necessarily accurate, because the real amount, I'll show you quickly how to figure this out. Distinct. Do a distinct. It's really 74, but due to it causing a Cartesian join, it's showing up 196 times. See that? And then you have here this one 4 different times. Again, it takes knowing the data, and it goes and look at, here's the Ernest guy showing up this, and you see, so a lot of duplications are happening, and that is, again, that's one of the pitfalls you have to understand. And another thing, excuse me, that can happen, joining on the wrong column. That can happen. Like, unfortunately, data can be dirty, and then one column might be called something like, this might be customer ID, and this might be customer ID, but this has nothing to do with the customer. So you're joining on that, and that causes issues that you can cause not getting results. And sometimes this order ID might be stored as something else. Like it might be, oh, okay, if you look at all the order IDs, they all start with 10. So let me come over here and just get a little sample of orders. Run this. Okay. So you see here how all orders start with 10, almost all of them. Sometimes, I've seen this in the past, and it gets annoying. Like in another table, what they'll do, hopefully this works, substring, order, ID, and then let's say 3, 3. Hopefully this works. And run this. And don't worry about, again, what I'm doing here. Basically, I'm doing a substring. So you see what I did, I chopped off the 10, and I'm just bringing back. So instead of it having the whole values, it might be stored as this. So you might say, okay, this is orders ID, and you might have a data dictionary, and it's in the other column is orders ID. So let me bring this in so we can compare. So you see here, like I might try join orderID to orderID, and it's not. It's the same number, but the thing that you're not seeing is this 10 is chopped off. So you're just saying, okay, I'm gonna join orderID to orderID, and then when you go to join, you're not getting any results back. And the reason why that's happening is because for whatever reason, sometimes it's stored as this, or sometimes it's stored as an entire column. So again, knowing the data will help. So that's a second pitfall I would recommend to be careful. Look, sample the data. Just because you do a join and nothing comes back, or you get a lot of things that come back, take the time to go look at what it means. Again, and we showed you how to get around Cartesian joins. The checkpoints, let's go ahead and run through these checkpoints. Okay, so what we want to do is group products by supplier ID and show records with the sum over 55. All right, we won't do this part right here because I want to go over like this more of the syntax in a later video. Let's just focus on doing the joins for now. So the first one was group products by supplier ID and show records of sum. So let's see what tables we need here. So let's grab the products table. Again, what I like doing, okay, hold up. I like sampling the products, okay? So I see here, and what I'm doing is looking at the data real quick. You see here, supplier ID is duplicating. Product ID seems to be unique. And I can do, there's quick checks I can do, but it's unique. You know what? Let's walk through it. This is a check I'll do. So select product, oops, ID, and then this is, I'm just going to check to see if it's really unique. And I'm going to do account star from products. And then you want to do your group by one. And I want to use a having statements. Having greater than one. So I'm basically saying, okay, we're going to group by product ID, and if more than one result come back, then I know I have duplicates. Oops. Okay. Let's see, should I put this afterwards? Let me check this out. No results. So basically what that's saying is, okay, everything is unique in product ID. So let's go ahead and take all this out. So I know if I'm joining, product ID would be a good place to join on this table. Get my asterisk back, run it again. Okay, so I know product ID is a good place to join. What table did I want to join it to? Supplier, no. Supplier ID, products. Nope. Order detail. Okay. So I'm going to join order details to products. And then we'll get to it later. So let's see if product ID is unique in here. So I'll do product ID counts. Wait, no, counts, sorry. Star from group by one. And use my having statements to do a quick check. Having counts greater than one. Run that. See what we'll get back. Okay, so you see here, we have to be careful because we have quite a bit that are recurring. Okay, so product ID. So now we know we have to be careful how we join. Make sure we get the results we want. So we know we want product. So from products, I would say I want the product name. Copy that. Bring it over here what I want. And all we're going to do, we're just going to join the two tables and bring some results back to see how the results looked. And I want unit and price. So let's bring this down here. Units. Let's delete. Units. Price. Okay. I'll get rid of this here. Make this look nice and pretty. Okay. So that's what I want from the products table. And we said we're going to join it to order details. So from the order detail, let's say I want to know the quantity. Okay. So now we have our table set up. So let's go ahead. And I'm going to use the alias instead of the column name. So let's say b dot, I know I want quantity. Delete this and everything's going to make sense here. I'm just getting the list. And these are the items we wanted. So copy those. We need to close this out. We don't need that anymore. Okay. Bring this back. And I don't have to use it, but it's good to do so. And what I'm saying I don't have to use is the alias because product name is not in this table. But just to be clear, and if someone else needs to look at this, they know exactly where everything's coming from. They can quickly make changes. And you never know, you might forget as well. Because I know that's happened to me a lot. I remember I'll go back to look at something and it's like I don't remember what I was doing. I'm like, what is this? This is foreign to me. Okay, so let's take these out. And this is order detail, so you're going to be B. And I'm going to start off with what table here. Space this out. So you see how I have my syntax. I have all the names of the columns I want. I have my comma. These are the aliases. I'm not listing out the entire table name. I'm just doing alias. So let's go to products. A from and then join. You can use in and join. I just like using join because I feel this is clear. Join on a dot product ID equals b dot product ID. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so we have 518 records, and if you look at here, products only has 77. Order detail has 518, so we're getting everything back from products. Okay, so let's say we have everything back. And you know what? Let's put it in order to see. You know what? We're not going to get too far. So let's order by product name. Oops, little typo there. Product name and this. Put a dot so we can know where we're getting this from. Okay. So you see here, this is repeating a lot. And usually you want to do some aggregation, or you want to roll this up, excuse me. You want to roll this up because the first two columns are the same, and what you probably want to do is get this value and sum this up. That's what I do. Or you can sum both of them up, but that's what I normally would do here. So let's say, for instance, okay, we have the product name. What if we want the product ID? We can throw that in. Just because we joined on it doesn't mean we can't throw it in. So put a dot product ID on this. And now, okay, everything's in order. Okay, we have our product ID and everything's coming back. Again, this might be, we don't like this because it's repeating a lot. And again, that's because this right here. And this isn't necessarily Cartesian join. The reason why this is happening is because orders details table has 518 different records. So that's why. So we can, and there's some aggregations you can do to fix that. But this is how it comes back. So that's a quick tutorial. I know we went into a lot of details, but we touched briefly on doing inner joins. and we showed you some of the pitfalls and showed you the syntax. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Give it a thumbs up, like, share, and we'll just continue going for that next week. What we're going to be covering is we're going to go into more details about doing the inner joins. We're going to throw in some case statement. We're going to throw in some where clauses, and we're going to throw in some other clauses so we can see how we can use inner joins to its fully. So hopefully you enjoy this video, and thank you guys, and have a good day.